Hello everyone. Today's talk is going to be one where I shall communicate with a different intensity of command. And so I am just communicating how we can utilize symbology, so dissolve into the experience or watch from a distance. Now, in confronting reality, we see that there are some displays, there are some moments that you see, whether it's a very profound, loving moment or where it's a very sad, suffering moment, you will see that you are present through all of it. You see that what you are now is simply an awareness to a sense of physicality, and so you are responsible for this existence that you are. And so you innately existing in this plane of existence are driven by the knowing that you exist and are a maintenance. It's as if you're sticking to how the program was written. And so it's not the fact that the program is elusive, it's just that nature is nature, whether it's internal or external. You will see that it's as if consciousness has been paying attention to this amount of physicality, but after it's playing with this and after it's been aware of its form, it suddenly sees it can be everything. It sees that love was profound, not by its fluffy imagery on popcorn containers, but by the fact that once you observed, you directly enter. It's as if that moment where you were mindful enough to then enter the temple. It's as if you have been embraced, reunited. Your experience is no longer in its individual focus. It's as if the dimensions of devotion, the dimensions of appreciating life as your experience, as not just the idea of others about you in which you think you're an idea and then trying to work. You know, you're not a being of confusion, and you will see every moment you're being pulled towards clarity. Clarity is your natural state. It's as if consciousness knows itself, regardless of you wanting to dance or not. You see, the music is inspiring us. We must realize that this plane of dimension is being inspired. What that means is that there is a reason it's in the creator-creation dynamic, as many human beings have seen. It's simply because that there's an unknown aspect to our perception, and based on that unknown, the certainty of our stories changes based on the human experience. So think about all those people who said God wasn't real. Before language, there was no even conception. Do you know? It's like as if it was just a natural process. So now we're a natural process where these beings, these physical beings who are making sounds, are interpreting these sounds and are being self-aware and are just, it's as if like on some reality we're still this evolving animal, but on another ability we're the transcendence that's building it and inspiring it and moving it. It's like our ambitions are great beacons that we're carrying, and it's as if all our ancestry and existence is following. It's that moment we realize that the greatness of man was never in one man, but in the presence of mankind. We are not a species in confusion. We cannot communicate towards, we cannot move towards interstellar dreams like that. We are beings of clarity, and we are exploring our clarity, and we are not arrogant to say that we know everything. We don't know everything. And that is why we're explorers beyond our sense of limitation. That is why once you see the clouds move away, the sky is limitless. So similarly, the clouds of thought and all these ideologies will melt away as you become aware. And so the intensity of your presence becomes your learning. It becomes your teaching. So you're not just externally receiving information. Actually, what happens is when you become more existentially aware, your reception of external information becomes better. So let me tell you what I mean by that. It's as if like, you know how people tell you to listen? And you're like, oh, what do you mean? I've always been listening, man. How am I hearing you? You know? So it's like, when you have that moment, you see, no. What they meant is that, how aware are you of the movement of sound from another being coming into your ear? How aware are you in what they are creating with their movement? How aware are you of what movement means to you? And so if you constantly arrogantly say, I know it, I'm this, so this is me, you will see, you will be pulled by your unknown experience. It's like the minute you act dishonest, life has more of an urge to balance you. So it's very important to see that you need to be allowing enough and to be observant of the nature that you are, in a sense, moving through. So if there were heavenly fathers in whose gaze we were present in, we would not be interested in anything else other than where the origin of our vision is coming from. And so you will see there are many battles. There are many battles that will appear, you know. And what that means is that when the Buddha sat down, people are like, oh, what a simple guy. He sat down by a tree. Oh, that's cute. No. This being sat down and stood in front of the presence of all ideology and all its potential. The stories are very profound and very beautiful, that they say it's as if all these negativity, all these dark forces suddenly came in front of them, and it's as if they all got arrows, and in that moment where all darkness attacked him, he turned all of those arrows into lotus flowers in the subtlety of his mind. And so he realized that this being had realized himself it's as if beyond the multidimension. It's like beyond just the solid part of the body, beyond the liquid dimension. Now this being knew it was as empty as gas. So it's very important to see that you are a creator of your experience, which you cannot, in a sense, think that you know. There is always a profound level of your I don't know, which is in the nature of your design. It's, for example, that I don't know moment where that person who was reading about how science was expressing the world, it's as if light is a certain wavelength. And so what about the rest, you know? So it's very important that we don't make dark matter or dark energy be another symbol, for example, like, I don't know, some other fabrication of man's mind. It's that we want to take what is real for us and observe why it's real, and then allow our experience and vision to expand. This is a simple thing. It is never complex. All I'm saying is that if you see that you're jumping up and down and you're not getting anywhere, maybe try the opposite and see what happens. Just be still, be calm. Just in a sense, don't try to quit, for example, your bad habits, your addictions, all your problems and suffering. Just be like, just stop doing anything. And you will see that as you have stopped, you have gained the ability of that space, that sense of platform beyond space and time, where space and time becomes conceived, you know. There's a level of existential awareness where the way your internal experience and external experience are aligned is that there's nothing. So in that nothingness, your knowing is there. And so this knowing is actually how many of the branches were connected to, you know, the same roots. It's kind of that kind of sense of intelligence. So I'm saying some people have tried to use, you know, certain religious imagery. I'm using very natural ones, and I'm saying let's see it like a tree, okay? So a tree, when we observe it, when we actually begin studying trees before they're all gone, you know, and communicating with them properly, we'd see that it's as if we are held by one trunk, and this trunk goes into the soil, which is unknown. So it's as if like all our reality, which is known, is kept in a self-awareness before this self-awareness dissolves into something that it cannot be aware in the same way, you know? So it's as if you are somebody now, and who you are to be tomorrow, you don't know. So it's like that fascination, but found in the fact that where is this all leading? Where is evolution leading? And you see, it's regardless of how many people have tried to be rational, human communication is always a transcendental thing. So what that means is even the person who, for example, doesn't believe or doesn't say he believes in, let's say, a creator or not, it doesn't matter. He's still a human being experiencing life. You know, when you see people as not people and just as beings, it's like before I even respect who you are and how you speak, I'm just seeing that this is another piece of life, you know? It's not that I should just take care of my garden and then if someone comes on my lawn, shoot them, you know? It's not that kind of attitude. It's very important that we we allow life to be as it is, and for a lot of our fluctuations not to be external but to be internal. So the way Mr. Within found that, in a sense, he found Mr. Within to a degree where there was a sense of peace and calm, is that it wasn't that it was peace. Like sometimes I went the route where peacefulness balanced my conditioning. It showed me the stuff that my other aspects of my conditioning didn't, you know? So for example, if I was raised in a certain lifestyle, you know, suddenly it's as if this sense of understanding gave me the other side. I noticed, oh my God, all this good guy I thought I am, oh my God, I have the total potential to be a bad guy tomorrow. Gosh, you know? So with this awareness, it's like realizing before I get into relationships and how how real my sense of conception is, what am I looking for? What am I trying to achieve, guys? You know? Like, you don't want to be doing a test when you suddenly see that you're actually here to, for example, you know, meet someone or, you know, do something else. It's very important that ideas don't, like, they inspire you to a certain degree, but you never think that you're just an idea. Because if you do, then you've just put yourself and dulled down your intelligence to a place where, like, you're acting like God. You're saying, oh, I'm going to put this shape and I'm going to make this clay, and so I'm going to make this, for example, theory or ideology to kind of explain it all. And when I say this to other beings, this ideology is going to make, you know, all of us smile. Well, you know, it's going to make us smile for like 10 minutes, and then afterwards we're going to get new ideas, you know. So what's more important in your life is to know the experiencer, not just only being in relationships where you're just associating with objects of experience. What that means is, if you ask me what I am, you just came to me and you just asked me, what are you? And you really wanted to know the answer, where I knew, like, you asked that question and you never wanted to say anything, just hear me say it, speak. I would never say anything. I would just look at you with silence, because the totality of the human intelligence is beyond language. And so when you ask me a question like that in language, all I can answer is silence. And so what happens when silence is given, when man asks the deepest question? You know that concept, ask and you shall receive? Yes, you shall receive, just like how, for example, gravity receives, in the sense that you threw this question and nobody answered you, so you suddenly had to fall back into your own understanding and see why you asked it. It's a playful dance in how we are a chaotic and very ordered intelligence at the same time. It's like, regardless of how organized I like my table to me, you know, if my partner's there, you know, I'm gonna probably push the stuff off the table and, you know, explore life. So it's very important to simply see that the significance is being kept by you. So who is the keeper, and does the keeper need to be shaped, or are you beyond terminology? Are you as a being, like, it's not that just, guys, sometimes understand, I've had ideas where they have just been so profound in my experience that I've noticed it's as if, like, the idea was just like me seeing an exotic animal. What that means is, as if, like, this idea came to me and it was such an exotic idea, but then it left because the idea could not be received by me in my associations with a social platform. And so it was that moment where you see that the bird who is flying does not have trust in his wings. He has trust in space. And so space in its emptiness is is your profound certainty. So you ask me, how am I certain? I don't need to, for example, if I choose, let me refine this. The reality where you communicate with others, in other words, when you talk to someone and that reality you share and what's real and what's not, is a total different density of experience compared to the reality that is looking at itself from the peak of the mountain rather than the bottom. Guys, think about this. And actually, don't just think about it, just be aware of it. We're human beings, we exist. And in this existence, how we move is really becoming our meaning. And when we look at where is all of this becoming meaningful, we find a void. And when we try to interpret the void, we can't. So we realize, God, it's as if we can't move further than our illusion, so we can't. It's as if we know some things, but we don't know it all. And so when you're in that state, you will begin feeling as if everything you have known in your reality suddenly turn into a tornado. It's as if the tornado's beginning and you were just that view that was in the tornado while it was being made. You know, you were in the center, you were getting the inside view, and as you were seeing it, it's as if everything in reality was whirling around. It's as if order was kept so orderly, but suddenly always being chaotically pulled and thrown around. You know, it's as if that moment you suddenly enhance yourself because the imagery of who you are is not you, so that sense of you finds itself expressive in a universal intelligence that cannot be contained in a container. So we cannot choose to only experience through ideology, but we use ideologies as tools. That means we are silent, powerful creators, that within our silence and stillness we can feel the vastness of our being, and so that vastness will be the inspiration. So we are, how profound is this? We are formed beings inspired by our experience into its formless knowing. It's as if the toroidal field and the infinity sign was always coming back to itself. And so that sense of self is the sense of existence. In many different ways it has allowed its awareness to hold on to. What that means is that when you recognize your ability beyond form, when you have walked over the bridge of nothing and no thing, you will see that you are a communication, regardless of what you communicate. And so your existential communication never needs extra noise. That moment where you're sitting in stillness and just enjoying, for example, the silence of, let's say, a forest, you don't need your iPhones, your headphones. You know? So knowing yourself is knowing the sense of you that is always transcending into its opening freedom, in its opening sense of a free being, as if a part of you is always stepping forward regardless of how far you feel you're behind. Just a part of you is. Even that time you're even thinking that you failed. No. You're still working. You know, it's as if there is no failure. There's just your movement. There's just your exploration. And the being who takes his exploration into his own hands, you taking an existential sense of responsibility to suddenly explore what you are as life beyond all ideology. You are not just a very able being. You're not just an advanced communicator. But when the moment comes, the pilot of consciousness is the navigation of the plane of existence. Your sense of transcendence is an infinite opening where limitation cannot exist, and a simultaneous acknowledgement is present to work with many layers of your conception. What that means is that they made us think that we're using 10% of our brain. Well, actually, I don't know who said that. That guy I don't think he did too good in school. We are not using 10%. We cannot measure it to even know how much we're using. We can just be aware of our certain ranges and measurements, and if our measurements don't satisfy, make assumptions. And these assumptions are still not satisfying, so we will see that what is present, what is even making, for example, these words be received by your ear, what is, in a sense, putting that color into the wall in front of you, is actually your own sense of existence. See, look at it, discover it. Just for a second, look at your moment of being. You exist. Its significance is beyond all the ideas you know, and beyond all the ideas you will go on to know. It's as if your inspiration is beyond the limitation of form, and to know this, you will suddenly realize the power of, for example, birds to suddenly make a V formation, and suddenly to go into abstract chaos where they're working at different elevations. You will realize that your mind is able, and in that ability, you will, with many clear lights, be a dawn within a dawn. What that means is that the changes that human beings are experiencing right now will intensify, where regardless of if the world wants to turn apocalyptic or not, your existential sensitivity is becoming, and it's a good thing. It's as if the child's growing up, you know? So when the child's growing up, of course life's getting tougher, do you know? Of course. Life gets so tough that you're thrown in battlefields, and in battles you don't understand, but you're still driven by something because you must be, because that is how a warrior or soldier stands. But regardless, it is also important for a man to see where his command is coming from. Is your command coming from another dictation or a dictator? Or is the command and the direction of your life coming from an innate knowing of the immense value of your being beyond the limitation of your senses? Now that is why meditation should be approached. Not because you want to be more flexible when your mentality and your mental circuitry is so unstretched, you know? Yoga has its significance, and it's not just yoga, guys. What's yoga? Another human activity. So any human activity, you immediately bring self-awareness to it and become curious about what is existing. You will throw away all realities and dualities that did not serve you. You will get rid of that jacket that is just too heavy, and you will walk into the nakedness of your being and just simply see that existence is existence beyond the voice of man. You will know yourself as the silence when your whole life you thought you had a voice. You will see that you have spoken to yourself. You have talked to, in a sense, everything at the same moment. You have been both at times your own judge, and you have been judged. You have been the bringer of your apocalypse by opening a book and also experiencing it in your subtler planes. You have been the creator of worlds that have been so vast, in which you have found your one aspect of yourself to be lost. But oh, aspect of self that feels it is lost. How can you be? How can you be lost? How can you not exist? And when you see that existence, it is mighty. It is as if my greatest teachers were never found in language. It's that only when I realized to cherish human beings, first from their being, then whatever imagery and shape and color, then I realized what life is. Many of us are not told this, but you must confront your stillness and silence as soon as you can. The minute you do, you will open dimensions of your life where clarity will suddenly be that old friend who just runs with you, you know, because you're never alone in your knowing. So follow this. Remember this. You are a creator, and at the same time, you are a creation. Do not be arrogant in thinking that you know all of it, but always know that the awareness that you can have has infinite potential. So know thyself by knowing that regardless of the illusion, you know. And in that clarity, you will see that perhaps if we were to go into Noah's Ark, where all the animals were coming into his ark, going into his ark, and the storm was beginning, he recognized, oh, regardless of my superiorness, regardless, it's as if all these animals, all hierarchy follows natural order. All hierarchy dissolves into natural order. And so that is when you see the free will you thought you have as an individual never existed, because you were always a collective allowance. You were always allowed to exist with an awareness to see yourself more than just what you are. Self-awareness is the profound step. Self-awareness is what the ape did not have. And now our self-awareness is stretching beyond, because it's as if it's as if society and humanity as it is today in 2015, its huge distinction has been the capacity of an expanded awareness. My children will be more aware of me, more aware than me, and so that is why I walk behind them. But when they walk, they will see that I actually walk in front of them. Because we are inspired by the past to look into the future, and sometimes we see the mind has the ability to give your future an inspiration from its past. Give your future a glimpse before a relevant past. And so that is when the concept of future selves will, in a sense, resonate with certain people, where they're getting communications as if life is telling them something before they've actually experienced enough to really know what that communication is that point where that person doesn't know if he's seeing something actually, or there's nothing there, And that is a problem of the receiver, not the problem of the expression. Extrasensory perception is a creation that is created by how the receiver chooses to be designed in that moment. So how you're standing right now, or the way you're standing, or the distance you have in standing, if you were right beside me in the park right now, you would see that distance suggests how well you receive my communication. So the distance and the duality that is present in your reality is present here, and it's firmly kept here by an aspect of yourself so that you continue. Because if there was emergence suddenly, you would have no reason to be present here, Life is very meaningful to you, but it's not a meaning that you must seek through your individuality. It's a collective knowing, and it is a silent one. It is a still one. It's that moment where a great leader knows that regardless of the challenge, all of mankind will continue its walk. It's as if that moment where Beethoven, just all day, his life energy was perhaps just taking him into compositions where he not just studied the keyboard, but he studied all that the keyboard could be in his mind, and even played all those abstract pianos. And so constantly in a state of composition thought, what can I give to the ears of man that it has never heard before? And that is why his music always has a resonance, because the inspiration and intention that being had to communicate it was for all of mankind. In other words, if you're going to work tomorrow just for yourself, your life force is much different than that human being who is living for all mankind, who is living beyond the illusion, is carrying the illusion, like all the chains that perhaps at a time, made Hercules think he was never a god. Beyond myth, we stand in greater horizons. Man is ready to receive through his own authenticity and sense of observance. Self-awareness, self-remembrance, self-observance, mindfulness. All these actions which suggest virtuous imagery, forget the imagery and know that if you follow these things, if you suddenly go and try to remember, to be aware of what your memory means to you, suddenly you become aware of what does awareness mean? Oh my God, how am I receiving this life? What the hell? What is my presence? What am I, just a personality? Once you go observe these things, you will excite yourself to a point that your longing will carry you. So right now, perhaps one intention of my communication can be to simply put so many mirrors in front of you that when you see those mirrors, you're like, wait a minute, I need to look at myself. And immediately you snap out of one reflection which you've been looking at too long and become the light that opens up all reality. The light in our eyes and the memories of starlight that we are. I hope this talk has served you, because I know that regardless, whatever you receive as a human being, you are utilizing well. Because you know yourself. Just be aware of it. It's okay for your life to just tune down a bit at times and also suddenly intensify. It happens, And don't try to control it, but try to be aware of it, that when it happens, you're just a natural flow of movement, And so this is where improv has always been the greatest ability of an actor, to lose himself, to lose the act and simply just be whatever there is in that moment, which is also very meditative in a certain